All right. So, hi everyone. My name's Cher. I'm the IDDS program manager, and I'm on the line with Yona as well. Yona, you want to say hi? I'll see if I can highlight her. Oops, it's not letting me go to you.
Sorry, I was on mute because I'm adding Lulu, and I did not want.
No problem.
But hi everyone. So great to see you.
Yona and I are really excited to have you guys here. We're kicking off the four kind of what for you guys. Hopefully it's helpful. And we have some information we want to go through, but since it's your first time meeting each other, just can we briefly go around, people just say hi with your name and something cool about yourself. I don't think we have time for big intros.
And where you're from.
And where you're from.
Hi guys, my name is Hee-won Lee. I'm from South Korea / Canada. I currently live in New York City right now. And I've been part with IDDS and IDIN for a couple of years. And that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Yuan. Oscar, how about you?
Oh, Oscar's here?
Yes.
Hey, man.
Hey. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
I'm Oscar from Guatemala. I'm industrial designer. Work with a lot with Omar, who's here. Something cool. I don't know. Today we have our students' presentations. They're working with cook stoves and fuels.
Marian, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Marian. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. And my background is in mechanical engineering. And my first workshop is this Saturday, so I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah.
Woo. Congrats.
Thank you.
Awesome. Omar.
Hey, my name is Omar. I'm from Guatemala. I'm an industrial designer. I've been with the IDIN family since 2007, the first IDDS. And yes, as Oscar said, we work together and we'll throw in an IDDS next year in Guatemala. We're super excited about
that. Victor.
Yeah, my name is Victor. I'm in Tanzania. Oh my God. Actually, I don't have a good connection here.
No problem.
Okay.
We can hear you. It's fine.
Okay, no problem. I'm an electronics engineer. I'm about to run my workshop on August. I wait for the students to be a bit free because many of them will be students.
Cool. Do we have anybody else on the line? Lulu?
Lulu?
Hello.
Do you want to introduce yourself very briefly?
Yes. My name is Lulu. I'm from Zambia. I'm working with IDIN and NTBC. And something exciting is that we are planning to do a workshop with refugees very soon, and we are just going to do an assessment and scoping next week.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Lulu. Cool. Well, I'm glad to have you guys on the line. I know that a good majority of you have actually already ran some of your workshops. So I know Marian said that hers is coming up. Who else has not run a workshop yet?
Me, Victor.
Victor, great. So yours is coming up?
Yes.
Cool. And Hee-won, Omar, Oscar, Lulu, I know that you guys have run several other types of workshops before, and you guys have already done one or two of them already for the IDIN workshop, right?
In the case of Oscar and I, we had to postpone it. We're just finishing the materials that we were developing. We decided to design this design principles. Basic principles of design kit. So we're very excited about that, and everything's coming out great. So we are still finishing that kit so we can actually run the first workshop.
Cool. Awesome. Well, so for those of you who, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Can everyone see it? Can everyone see my screen? Except for Lulu. Unfortunately, we'll just do via audio.
Yes.
Great. So what I'll be doing is I'll be talking about this main question, how to design and adapt curriculum for short, impactful workshops. But really, since there's some of you are about to do your first workshop, but a lot of you have already done workshops before. So I really want this to be a cross-learning experience. I'll guide us through some of our main things to think about, but I'm going to be pulling and asking you guys for some of your experiences and feedback that you've seen work really well. So when we think about how to design and adapt curriculums for short, impactful workshops, I think the real question that we're asking is that we need to first ask is, what type of impact do we want to have? This is a very sexy word out there in international development and other sectors. Some people really don't even like it. You know, it's too flashy. But really, it just comes down to this main question of, what does success look like for you? Especially because these aren't full IDDSs, right? For some of you, this might just be a 2.5-hour session, or a half-a-day session, or maybe even a full day. And so there's kind of your bigger success that you're hoping for and smaller things that lead to that. But in an ideal world, welcome whoever joined. In an ideal world, what we want to be thinking about and what I'm going to pitch to you all is take a moment and think about the workshop that you have coming up. My workshop will be a success if. Why don't you think about that for a moment, fill in the blank. Think about what you want participants to really do with their lives or do with what they learn. What do you want them to do after the workshop? Okay. Now I'm going to give each of you kind of an opportunity for those who feel comfortable. I'd love for you to share. How do you fill in this blank? What are your hopes and dreams for after the workshop? What would you like to see? What would you consider success? Marian, since yours is coming up soon, do you wanna think through? And it's okay. It doesn't have to be your final answer. It's simply, after your high schoolers go through your workshop. What do you hope?
Okay, so personally, I was very inspired with my experience with IDDS, Three Think Relief, when I was there in Uganda, and just being able to create solutions using local resources and all that. For my students, I really want them to start thinking outside the box. Like, our society is plagued with so many issues, which I feel like you don't really need high-tech solutions to it. So I want them to now start thinking, like, what can I start doing? We have issues with water. Okay, now what can we start doing? What solutions can I come up with in water? So that's what I want them to start doing is just start thinking now outside the box, that they themselves are in a position to make an impact in their society. Yeah.
Great. Cool. Thanks. Anyone else? Who else would like to share?
Yeah, me. So on June the 2nd, I'm going to do a workshop with some kids, like for the first time with kids. And I think for them, they're very different targets. So I want them to just, learn about what international development is and what kind of design solutions there are out there, and just show them why this is important, and give them like another opportunity just to, explore this domain. So they might be interested and then go for this in the future. I don't know, but just like a very small focus like that would be.
So thinking about what, just an exploration and maybe if there's a future ahead for them.
Mm-hmm.
Good. These are all very well scoped too. Go ahead, Yona.
Lulu wanted to jump in as well.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was that for me, what I would like to see is for people after the training to go out there and really use the information that we have given them. An example that I would give is that I've seen from members of our network who have started businesses. Others have been through a training, others have not been through a training. So for me, it would be very beneficial if people like learned those skills that we've given them, maybe even some of the technologies, and developed a business out of them. Because if they just use the technology on their own, I think it would limit their benefits. So in order to widen the benefits, they would really do well if they had a business that grows out of them. And it's really possible because I've seen it in our network.
That's awesome. That's great. How about one more person want to share?
I want to share. I think our workshop will be a success if people after it can wanting things. You know, I mean, they are just so used to being okay with what they get, you know, from a project that gets to that community. And one of the main goals is to actually, you know, see it, for them to see what powerful design can be, and also to have, you know, in a way, open their eyes to see that they are able to want things and to, you know, just engage into getting them and working together with us to get them. So I guess it will be exercise if after this workshop they start asking for things and wanting things.
They start asking for things. Great. Cool. So what I'm hearing, some of you, almost all of you, want to see that they're taking this knowledge and that they're using it to do something new that they haven't done before. So whether that's starting a new business or thinking in a new way, opening up their eyes to new opportunities. All of these are really well scoped, I have to say. So it's good to be hearing from each of you, which is kind of why we ended up selecting you, right, as the cohort. It's mainly because you did have a good, well-scoped vision of what you were hoping to achieve, because it is just kind of a short amount of time. So how can we maximize that is then the question. I think sometimes people start and they say, I want to do all these activities and I have 2.5 hours to do it. But really what we want to think through is, what is it that you want to achieve and how can we get those activities to match that? So keep remembering what success looks like for you. So whether that's you want to start a new business, you want these high schoolers to start exploring international development, what have you, just think about that. And then as you think about that, most of you know this, but that's your main goal, right? Or your goals. So keep in mind what your goal is, and then think through what might be some of those smaller objectives, just a few that you're trying to achieve. Each of you probably have a very short amount of time. So again, 3 to 5 is suggested, but 2 or 3 is just healthy for about the amount of time that each of you have. And then you really want to focus from there on what those activities are that might help achieve those objectives and achieve that larger goal. And sometimes it might be, you know, each activity is achieving a certain objective. So if we think about menstrual hygiene, for example, you know, maybe my goal is that women have better menstrual hygiene, practice better menstrual hygiene after my workshop. And so my objective is that they understand what it is, they know what their options are, and that they create their own menstrual pad. And so I could design an activity for each one of those objectives, but I could also do something where I just have one activity that accomplishes all those objectives, or 2 activities that are accomplishing those. So that's a way to really, a big time saver. And so that means thinking through what your activity is and crafting it just right to accomplish those objectives. Especially for those of you who have run workshops before, does anything come to mind where, you know, where you've seen an example like this? Maybe you have run a workshop where you have 3 separate activities, but maybe you've been able to condense it down to just one activity that accomplishes all those objectives. I'm thinking specifically of Heewon. We sat through one of his workshops in Korea, and I think he was really good at scoping down, okay, here's what we can accomplish in this amount of time, and here's what we can't. And even through the design activity, they are learning specific objectives. So that is one way, is kind of making that activity kind of match some of those. Did anybody else have any examples that they've seen done really well? Mona, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. And hi. Glad to have you. Cool. Okay. So maybe some examples aren't coming to mind now, but conceptually, does this make sense to you guys?
Yeah, I think
Great. Go ahead.
one can accomplish something with just one workshop or just one training. You can have like smaller objectives accomplished.
Mm-hmm. Right. And at the end of the day, just remembering what your goal is and what activities will help get you there. So I think you guys kind of know that objectively, but it's just something to remember on thinking through how to maximize your time. Another way to think through how to maximize your time, some of you are doing this, some of you maybe not yet, but just remember that you can teach through your environment as well. So you might not have a whole lot of time, but maybe you want to be educating them about different pieces that might be available. Here are 3 different examples of how you could utilize your environment. One is, you'll see in this picture in the top left over here, this is a picture of the D-Lab workshop. So we actually hang our tools and we label them. So instead of us teaching tool by tool, we just allow it to be an exploration sort of thing where people can see them, they know what it looks like, and they can grab what they want. For some of you, this might be a good fit where you have your tools hanging out and just labeled. Some of you maybe not, might not be a good fit. A second thing is you could have boards or posters around. This we actually have available, and I'm putting in the notes section of this PowerPoint the link. But we have something called Learn-Its, and these are posters that you could print out or you can make your own. And basically it says like what the materials are, what their benefits are. So it teaches you a bit about the materials. So if you have like a break or something, students or participants can kind of meander and like look at that, and it's something else that they're learning along the way. So it might be a specific tool or specific material, but you could feel free to use posters. And then lastly, I've seen a couple different organizations use this, and I really like it. If you have the ability, or the need, it could be a cool tool. Sometimes I'll see organizations, they don't have time to teach something, or they do teach it and they want participants to have something to take away with them. So they'll create these little cards that show what the activity is and have the instructions in the back and just put it on a little keychain. And you can, make your own version of this at a very low cost. I've seen it with our Singapore Polytechnic friends have each of their design activities printed up. You could also write it just on a note card and link it. You could have participants do it themselves. Either way, this could be, let's say you don't have enough time to go through other activities. You can just put it in a card and say, hey, here's your takeaway. You can go practice these at home. So I like those. Do people have any other examples of ways that they've been in workshops and they've seen people use their environment as a way to teach people?
I actually like one of the activities where D-Lab does, which is you teach them in advance before the workshop. So one of the activities I try to use with the GIA participant is I told them they can only spend like a certain amount of money throughout a couple of days to, drink water or buy food and stuff like that. And after that, when they come back to the workshop, and then they try to talk about their thoughts on what they thought about like using only $2 per day or maybe like $1 per day or something like that. And getting all these responses and feedbacks actually, kind of lubricates them into the whole design process and all these different design activities that are going to come and stuff. And I thought that was like a really great way of how to, start a workshop without going through from the basics and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great, Huan. So maybe giving participants quote unquote homework beforehand, but not really homework, but like a fun activity that they come in with. So yeah, as Huan was mentioning, we do kind of a $1 activity a week type of thing, live on less than $1 a day for a week and see how that goes. Or also we do another water activity where you can only get water from outside and bring it in. Some of you are in contexts where that's what they do every day, so you might not have to do that. Something else that's interesting that I've seen done is the challenge of eat locally for a week, especially for those of you who are in contexts where this isn't necessarily happening. It really is good. I agree with you on it's good to kind of get participants to practice those just to develop that empathy, and it already gives you something to discuss coming in. So that's great, Huan. Does anybody else have any other ways that they've seen people use their environment or the architecture of their learning to teach people?
I saw one cool example in Uganda from Design Without Borders.
Mhm.
They would teach the ladies to be confident on on drawing. Sorry, so they would just sit down underneath a tree, and with the shadows of the leaves, they will start drawing the silhouettes. So it was building this confidence in them to get them drawing. Before with the shadows, and at the beginning they were like, I cannot do this or something. So you can do also with outdoor activities as well.
Yeah. So I like that. Really utilize your environment. So whether that's a classroom or whether that's outside, thinking about what resources are already around you and how you can engage those into what you're doing. Some of you are already doing this, but maybe there are new ideas that are starting to come to mind. I'll write these down as well. So the main goal is just to be thinking through, okay, there are ways we can make our workshop shorter or more impactful. Number one, thinking about the goal. Number two, thinking about specific activities that help achieve that goal. And maybe there might just be one activity that achieves all those objectives towards that goal. And then utilizing some of these other things. So utilizing your environment, giving them homework maybe beforehand or an activity to do beforehand, and then giving them something to take away as kind of a next step or a learning piece. So those are really ways to kind of maximize. So at the end of the day, less is more. I think you guys know this. We only have room for so much information. So if you really, I just encourage you to really target your information, and even just having one activity done well is great. I think as you guys remember, maybe some of your most impactful experiences on you were activities may have just been a 2.5-hour activity that was really done well. And that's what's kind of left the impression. The last thing that I do kind of want to go through before we open it up to any other questions and answers that you guys might have, I do want to share with you some activity ideas and hear some of yours. So I do want to let you know about a few new resources. We're going to go through these just real quick because I want to orient you to them and let you know that they are here as a resource now. So one of them is the IDDS Toolkit. Does everybody else know? Who has heard about the IDDS Toolkit? Let me rephrase that question. It is brand new. Process. Let me see if I can open up my web browser for you. Yona, were you saying something?
I was going to say you should show us, Cher.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to see if I can open up my web browser. Hold on a sec. Let me stop sharing, then let me share my browser. Let's see. So all these are going to be linked in the slide, so you don't need to remember the links right now, but I would recommend that I'll send out the slideshow and you guys can go to all the links and explore yourself. So there is something that we've developed. We have an organizer toolbox now on our website for all the IDDS organizers, but a lot of the information on there might be helpful for you guys as well as you're leading workshops. One in particular is what we call the IDDS Toolkit, are things that people have already been asking for. So we have on here the design workbook, both in English and Spanish, and I'll upload it. We just received one in Swahili, so I'll upload that in Swahili as well. Feel free to pull from those. Some of you have already seen this. We have some past curriculum overviews that you can look at. Not all of them, but basically the past schedules of IDDS that might give you ideas of activities you can run. We have some more detailed schedules that you can look at that might give you ideas. We have some past IDDS PowerPoint you can pull from. And this ends up linking to a Google folder, which is divided by the place in the design cycle. And then we also have some more things. So you can feel free to explore through here. We're perpetually populating it. We have a few that are documented. We have a few that are in the process of being documented. So feel free to explore those and the different PowerPoints that might give you different ideas of what you can do. We have a design activities that I'm in the process of trying to populate. So if you have some you'd like to contribute, feel free to throw them in this Google folder. Right now, all we have are the ones documented from Rethink Relief. But I'm always trying to collect more and put them in there. This is a fun page. We'll come back to that one. We now have a Skill Builder page. We have a couple session plans and handouts, but really not many. We're trying to add those. We do have tons of icebreakers and energizers, so feel free to go through those as icebreakers and energizers or ways that you could adapt. And then these ones are kind of less relevant, but we do also have kind of a sample list of tools if you needed that. The other link that I want to take you to is the Skill Builder list that we just published last week. So we have, this kind of goes through all of what a skill builder is, which you guys know used to be called Build Its. You're going to have a whole call about this, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Anna will go through it in more detail, but this is the home of where it is. And again, it's linked in this PowerPoint. So feel free to explore there. We have 3 up there now, but Anna's in the process of going through more, and she will, she'll go over you more detail about skill builders. But I do want to draw you to this. Some of you have probably already been pulling from these resources. Things like Instructables, DIY, Autodesk has a nice little database you can go through, as well as SparkFun. So these are just databases of ideas. And then also another is a Peace Corps manual. Peace Corps has a database called Peace Corps Live, which I really want to make a plug for because they just revamped it, and it's pretty cool. It's called the Peace Corps Knowledge Hub, and it's free. It's an open resource, and you can go through by subject area depending on what you're leading. So they do, as you see, they have like a children and youth, and they have tons of manuals that are full of activities. And ideas. They have someone like gender equality and food security. They even, Oscar and Omar, they even have like Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stove resources are cross-linked on here. So this is like a mega database of databases. So what you can do is you can look for the specific resource. You'll see just a handful of different manuals listed. You could click on the manual, a PDF will come up, and it'll have just like a variety of different activities in there. So again, the world is at your fingertips. There's tons of different activities that have already been done. Mainly, here are some links. Global Alliance for Clean Cook Stoves is linked on there. These are databases of activities you can just pour through and either just use them based on what your goal is, or use them as things to jump off of and create your own activities. So we have some and other people have some. Are there other resources that you guys like to go to pull from when you're looking for activities to run?
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to hear how you guys are thinking about putting together the curriculum right now. Are you using activities from IDDSs that you've seen or liked, or are you also broadening the scope and developing your own activities and using external resources? We'd love to hear what works, what doesn't, and what you need help with. And we can all collectively brainstorm on how to help solve those challenges.
I don't have some resources at hand right now, but there's like this global design jam, which is twice a year. One at the beginning of the year is about service design, and in around August is sustainable design. But they do it like in many cities the same weekend, and they have like nice activities and agenda for a 3-day intensive, hands-on jam. But yeah, I can share something I have in another place. But yeah, that has been useful for us sometimes. Also, the icebreakers they have and everything.
Anybody else? Maybe there are also different university resources you might pull from, different organizational resources.
Yeah, for me, I started using the IDDS workbook, like all the activities that we learned from IDDS and stuff, and those work perfectly. And along the way, I utilized like a lot of different sources from like IDEO, Frog Design, D-School, and what else? Like Rockefeller, they have their own like thing. For design processes, I downloaded a lot of design process like / methodology like workbooks from different design universities. And this source that I have from TU Delft, it's a technical school in Netherlands, and they have their own design methodology, design process guidebook, and I think it's really, really good. It's really well written, very detailed, and I can send it to you guys so you guys could take a look at it. I'm not sure if I can just put it on the...
Yeah, if you put in the Skype or in the chat.
In the chat room? Okay, let me try that.
And I'll even link it to the PowerPoint here too.
Okay. Is it here?
Yeah, it might be at the bottom. There'll be a little chat icon.
Okay, I see it. Yeah, and then it's...
Maybe while Heewon's doing that, Lulu, I'd be curious to hear what kind of resources you're pulling from when you do workshops.
Mainly it's IDDS stuff that we're using, as in we are really using the curriculum that was designed for CCB, for IDDS to do our CCB. And for the technology transfer, we are using the same resource. It's only for the business development bit that we did the training for, that we used resources that were developed by NTPC. And these are the resources that they have been using through the years, and they have just been adding to it. But basically for the CCBs that we have done and technology transfer, it's IDDS material.
Cool. Oh. Mona, what about you? You're always putting on great stuff.
It's in my case, it's actually similar to Heewon. I use parts from the IDS design book, but some parts of it are actually too much. Like, at least when I do workshops here in the design and art school, some are too technology oriented. So I often use resources from like design thinking resources, which are more generally framed, and can be applied also on service design or system design or event design. So it's, in my case, I can't just always play with tools, so it has to be a bit more broader. So I think also the IDEO Human-Centered Design Toolkit is really helpful. And actually, I'm not sure, like Heewon, if anybody else did it. They had this, how was it called? I think the Human-Centered Design course. I can't remember the exact name, or the design kit course.
That's it, yeah.
And it's even like the course materials are even much better than the toolkit itself, which you can download. So if you ever register for the course and you don't have time to attend, it doesn't matter, because the course materials itself, if you know how to read them, are so useful. And there's always like small exercises, icebreakers. It's already assembled in a way, or designed in a way that it works well. Like, the structure is really helpful. So I really like the IDEO materials. I wouldn't do it one by one, just taking it and applying it, because I think just doing it doesn't, like, when I attended the course, it was always too long. Some things are not explained well, but taking out bits and bytes and pieces is very useful. I also made, in terms of like less is more, I also just recently, 2 weeks ago, we finished a design workshop here in Zurich with students from Kenya, University of Nairobi, and Swiss students were mixed in teams. And the main feedback was the curriculum was way too full. So students either they wanted to spend more time on one exercise and then they weren't ready for the next one, or it just felt too packed. They didn't have time enough to reflect, to chat among each other. And what we also did, we had them in smaller subgroups. The whole group was 16 students, but then they were in like two groups of 2 to 3 people. And they also wanted to chat with the other teams and share ideas more often, also in between exercises. So I think for the next workshop, one of our main takeaways is to plan more buffer time, so students get time to reflect. And as you said, like rather than doing one exercise, but doing it properly with enough reflection time than doing so many after another, and students just overwhelmed and don't really get to the core of they don't learn. They just feel overwhelmed and tired in the afternoon, and so I think this is really important. And maybe to add one more thing, there's another resource I recently discovered which I really like. It's called Development, Impact, and You. I'm not sure who developed it. I remember. It's I think an innovation agency from the UK called Nesta, if I remember right. You heard of it?
Yeah.
It's actually like, what is really cool about this toolkit or this platform is they have videos, they have templates to print out in all different sizes, they have a website that guides you through the development process, and it's made in a way that you are asked, like, what do you want? Do you want to scale your product? Do you want to understand your target users? Do you want to plan? Do you want to write a proposal? So like guiding you by questions through their huge resource, through their huge library of resources is really helpful. I think also for students or for beginners, because you don't need to understand where in the process am I. You just need to know, what am I looking for? And they help you to find the right material, which I really like from a design perspective, to help to help people find what they are looking for, because sometimes they don't know what they are looking for. They just feel lost. So I really like this resource. Let me quick see if I can find it.
Actually, I tried that. I know that workbook too as well, and I found it's very like beautiful, like well designed, like the layouts are beautiful, everything you can print out, like all these like activity sheets and stuff. But when I tried to use it, it was a bit too wordy. I think like the activities, like the description wasn't really framed, very, very clearly. So we had a hard time, trying to understand what they were asking us to do. So I think, but by using that and also the IDEO book that you're talking about, combining those two was really useful. But what I found was that although the DIY toolkit was really great, most of the things were like pulled out from this book. I'm not sure if you guys can see it.
Right,
yeah. It's called 101 Design Methods. This is like the Korean, this is the English version, yeah. This book is amazing. It talks about all the design methodologies, activities, and everything, like in really, really in a very descriptive and clear way. I would totally recommend this book for you guys to read. And also there's this other book called, I'm not sure what's it in English. Design Methodology, I think it's called the Universal Principles of Design or something. And then this also talks about 100 like different like design methodologies and things that you can use. And then if you go inside, it has like this pictures, diagrams. It talks about like what's about, how you can utilize it in your workshop, like what step of the design process you can use this in and stuff like this. So this is also very useful, I think, book. You guys should check it out.
You want who's the author?
Let me
Or you can send it to
double
us an
check.
email.
It's called Universal Method of Design. It's the publisher is Rockport Publishers. Sorry, this is the Korean translated version, but I'm pretty sure they sell it in the English version as well.
Well, if you guys have the links to any of these, you can feel free to email them
Yeah,
to
sure,
the
of course.
Skype chat, and I'll link it to here. Otherwise, I'll just Google for it, and I'll hyperlink all these when I send out this as well. That's cool if you want. What about you, Juliet? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was on mute for a second. Hey guys, I'm so sorry for joining in late. I had a bit of an emergency at work. I think most of the material has been covered because I did heavily use like the IDEO HCD toolkit and the course that IDEO did with Acumen as a basis. But for a bit on the electronic side, I've used like resources from Lady Ada, and that's been pretty helpful. And yeah, mostly just like mashing that up, as well as the IDDS, the design notebook.
But yeah, as you guys can see, there is a variety of resources between all of you. So these are all the things you can pull from. But again, I want you to look at this, and everyone take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath out. And what we want to do is focus on what the goal is. So with that being said, when we talk about designing short and impactful workshops, it's really about thinking about what the impact is and just simply creating an activity or two that help to achieve that. So it's pretty intuitive, but sometimes we forget about that along the way. Does anybody have, kind of with the rest of the time that we have about 10 more minutes, does anybody want to share any lessons that they've been learning from their workshops surrounding the question? Any thoughts or ideas you have?
I think for me, just one that like maybe making the curriculum kind of progressive.
Sorry, say that again, Juliet. You just paused.
Over time. So that kind of can plug in different pieces that we, or other person, other people. Hear me?
Now we can.
Hello.
Juliet, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Great, welcome back. Can you say it again?
Okay. Sure. So like having, like I think a lesson learned on my side has been having a detailed curriculum. I'm learning that now. A detailed curriculum that kind of spreads over maybe 3 months. And so people can have different places that they can kind of jump in and out of the workshops. I think that's like the feedback I receive from people. Yeah, that and just like sharing that out more. And I think this is in terms of like people kind of want to find what they can work on their own, as a way of like kind of continuing the process of learning and designing and making.
We'll look into seeing if we can create some web pages so that this isn't just a PowerPoint that leads you to several different other links. I'll look into see what we can create as a resource that houses all of this for you, and that you all can also be sharing those resources with each other, whether that's a Google folder or just somewhere on our webpage. But ideally, we'll try to see if we can just get a web page just for that so that you guys have a home you can come to.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to add is that we've also started a Facebook group that's more for people that are interested in the workshop and education space. So it's a subset of people in the network that are really focusing on this. So I think that can be, and we'll send you the link to it again, but that would be a great space to continue to share really great resources that you stumble upon. But also, if anyone has a question before they host a workshop, or let's say you hosted a workshop and something didn't work very well, or you want to process how it went for someone else, then actually posting the question or posting the reflection on the Facebook group can allow us to continue the conversation outside of these calls, because these calls are quite short, but we really do want to build the community of people in the network that are doing short workshops.
We probably have a few minutes left. So does anybody, I'm thinking of like Marian or some of the other people, Marian and Victor, I know have their workshops coming up. Are there any things that you're feeling nervous about or want some feedback on? We got a whole pool of seasoned folks here.
Yeah, this is Marian. Yeah, I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So one thing that I'm trying to figure out is, so for the guys who've been able to host workshops, how were you able to measure the success in post hosting it?
So this is a great question, Marianne. And next week we will have a 1-hour call again that is about measuring results. So we will dedicate all of the hour next week on this question. So perhaps we can pause that if that's okay. When are you having your workshop?
Okay, sure. On Saturday.
Oh, this Saturday.
This Saturday, yeah.
Maybe I will send you some information before then so you can prepare.
And
Okay,
Marianne,
thanks.
I would totally suggest you to come up with a survey sheet. So yeah, you can like hand it out to the participants later on, and that will be like a one way to actually measure your outcome of the workshop and stuff. So
I have one I use, so I could share that with the group.
Julia?
I have a quick survey that I use, like, what did you learn? Would you recommend it to someone? Like, very simple questions. And so I'll share it with everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. That would be perfect.
Yeah. And just a simplified note on that. And again, Laura's going to walk you through all this next week. So in the meantime, we think a survey, we need to come up with some questions. But honestly, it comes back to this. What is your goal? And what are those kind of subcomponents you're trying to achieve? And even if you just had three, I've been to different sessions where they just have 3 questions at the end of the workshop. Did you make this? Did you learn how to do this? And like, do you feel better about X? So like, even if it's just measuring those 3 simple things and they just check off, like, it doesn't have to be anything complex. It can be very simple. And again, you're just trying to see, oh, did I accomplish this? Did I not? And then I've seen people ask these 2 simple questions of what can I do less of? What can I do more of for next time? So it doesn't have to be complex. It can be simple. So, and we have Kiwan and Juliet who can share some of their stuff too, but we will go over kind of more detail next week as well. Cool. Maybe we have time for just one last question. If anybody else has any other questions. Victor, do you have any? Yours is coming up too. When is yours, Victor? When's your workshop coming up?
Is that me?
Yes.
Yes. I can't hear you properly, so I can't hear everything.
Oh,
yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, but I've been trying to listen. But I had an idea actually. I don't know if you have time.
Yeah.
I think if you choose a specific group of people, then it's very easy to teach them using what they are doing, and the project or the business they are doing are going to be the tool for you to actually, and that's also going to be a very really hands-on activity, because you're just within what they are doing. For instance, what I'm trying to do in my workshop is collecting the designing new technologies, and because I used to do that myself, so it's very easy for me to use the mistake I did as live examples. And because they are already doing something at the time workshop, we can use that as a really activity for them to, for instance, if you want to go out and look for customer what the customer going to, what customer, what was the technical word in IDDS? To get feedback from customer, we don't need to do from the examples. We can go out and the workshop is going on. That's why I think choosing specific people is very, very sometimes.
Yeah. That's great. So sometimes what you design is a way to measure it as well.
Yes, yes. I was writing here now. I think, I don't know if you had me properly.
Yeah, it broke out a little bit, but I think we got what you were saying more or less. That's good.
Okay.
Thank you, Victor.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, we might wrap this session up. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining. I'm glad that you guys could all be on the line. We'll have this recorded. I'll send out, if you guys have links, send them to me. I'll hyperlink it in here. I'll send the PowerPoint out to you. We'll be seeing you next week, same time, same place, and with Laura Bedzina. And thank you guys. You guys are really doing cool stuff. So it's exciting to be a part of what you guys are doing. Hopefully this is helpful for you too. Cool.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you guys. We'll talk to
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.